Hello and welcome to Supercharging your Google Calendar. We're going to talk about all the intricacies of Google Calendar here. So from the basics to some of the most recent releases. So we're going to start just by how does calendar work. So right now we are on the main screen here where you would be able to see any calendar events I have. We see the day of the week. We see some other calendars on the side and so on and so forth. So let me go all the way down the list. So here's our big old button here, how we're going to create new calendar events. We'll go through that in 1 minute. Here we have a small view of our calendar so we can see quickly advance to future or past dates. Here's where we can start to search for other folks' calendar. We have a list of all of the calendars that we're a part of. And then here was where we would see all of our main calendar events. I'm going to go ahead and create my first calendar event. So there's two ways to do this. You can hit the create button at the top, or you can click and drag anywhere on your actual calendar. I'm going to hit create and click on event. So it's going to throw it in pretty soon after your current time. So I'm going to go and give it a title. This is a make believe event. And I'm going to leave it on event for right now. We'll talk about all these other options in a minute. We can pick our date and our time. I'm going to make this a little bit longer. Maybe it's a 2-hour event. You could also select if you want it to be an all-day event or change the time zone. Here you have the option to change, is it going to repeat? Is it repeating daily? Is it repeating weekly? Or there's custom options as well. If you want to add other people, you would click on add guest. And you can go in and type in another user. If they're within your domain, it'll automatically pop up. If they are not in your domain, it may not automatically pop up, but you type their name in and you invite them. So that way they have the calendar event as well. If you want to use Google Meet video conferencing, you can click that button and it will create a Google Meet link and add it to the calendar event. Then a little bit further down, we have adding a location. So if I wanted to add a location here, I could type in an address or just type in Nick's office. A little description. This is a fake event. Don't worry about attending. And you could add some formatting in here as well. You could add some links and bullets and things like that. You can even add attachments, so I can attach something from Drive. I can attach something that's on my computer. You have a couple different options there. And if you wanted to go ahead and start creating meeting notes right away, this is a new feature that was added where you have a template that a new document is created with a template for meeting notes where you can add in the people who are there. It's automatically shared with the people who are on the calendar event, and you can go and add your meeting notes directly there. This new document will automatically be added to the calendar event, so anybody who is invited will be able to see that, which is really great. And then you can choose what calendar you put this on. So it's by default going to go on my normal primary calendar, but if you have multiple calendars, you can add it to a different calendar by clicking there and selecting it. You could also change the color of the event if you want it to be slightly different. If you want it to be, by default, it's going to say that you're busy for the event when other people are looking at your calendar, but if you want to make it so it's free, you can click free. If you can change whether people see the details of that depending on what your settings are, and if you want to get a notification before the event. I'm going to leave that on for now. I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and I have my event here. Now if I want to change it or move it or do anything, I can click it and I can see a couple of details about my event right away. I would be able to see who else is invited to it as well, and if I have a calendar or a Google Meet invite. And there's a couple of different options I can do here. I can click this edit button and then I'll be able to go and edit all of the things. I'll show you what that looks like. I can delete the event. I could email the event details, or I can go into options and I could do a couple of things like changing the owner or duplicating the event. So I'm going to go into this edit event so you can see what this looks like. So here, it's all the same options I had when I was creating the event. But now if I wanted to go ahead and change it, maybe it only needs to be an hour or I need to add somebody, you could do that from here. The other thing you could do is if you just want to shorten it or move it, you could just click and drag and say, you know what, I need to do this tomorrow because I've got a conflict now. You can go ahead and click and move that. And if you have other people added to the event, it'll say, hey, do you want to go ahead and let everybody else know and you could go ahead and hit yes. You could also click and shorten it as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a calendar event with another user to our new calendar event. So I can go over here to where it says meet with, and I could type in Alice. And I can see here what Alice's calendar would look like. So I'd be able to see whether she had events going on, and clearly Alice is very free. So I'm now going to, with Alice in here, I can hit create and click event. Now I have a new calendar event with both Alice and I. So if Alice had some other events on their calendar, it would be pretty easy to see when we both had time free. So I'm going to go ahead and click over here and select a time tomorrow morning for us to check in, and then make sure that I want to go ahead and add a Google Meet link as well. And I'm going to change this to early morning check-in. Okay, and I've got Alice on here. I'm not going to add a location, anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And then I get this: would you like to send invitation emails to Google Calendar event guests? Yes, I do, so they know that's coming onto their calendar, and it's done. Now, if I were to go ahead and search again for Alice, you could see here, I can see on Alice's orange calendar that there's an event there. So if I wanted to schedule something different, then it would be blocked out for that spot. Okay, let's dive into some of these other options we have here. So when we click this create button, we have a couple of different choices here. We have focus time, out of office, task, and appointment schedule. So focus time is exactly what it sounds like. A way for you to block off time in your calendar just for focusing. So if I would click create focus time, it's going to look very similar to a regular calendar event. And you can remember that I just clicked on event here or focus. It's just kind of shifting what it looks like. But you can see there's this little icon here, and it'll be really easy to check this box that automatically declines meetings that come in. And that's kind of the biggest reason to use focus time rather than just putting an event. And then folks will get a message that you can put in here saying why you decline the event. So, right, you could say decline because I'm in a creative space, something like that. And we could go ahead and say, do I want to decline new and existing meetings, or only new meetings that come in? I'm going to go only new meetings that come in, save this, and it's done. All right, other options. I'm going to click create again, click out of office. So I'm going to take Friday off, let's say. So I'm going to click out of office, and I'm going to change my date to Friday, and it's giving me an all-day event. So now, very similar to my focus, I could change what this says here for out of office, right? And I could change the message here for me to automatically decline any new meetings that come at me while I have this indicated for out of office, right? And the default right there is pretty solid. The difference with an out of office is that the event details are public. So what people will see if they look up your calendar is out of office, but if you wanted to say something different, right, traveling for a conference, that's what they'll see. So just be aware that that one's a little bit different. All right, save and save. All right, other options here. We have tasks. So tasks are a way for you to just add essentially to-do lists going on your calendar. I'm going to create a new task, and it's going to add it right to this upcoming time, which may or may not work for you, but you could try it that way. A way that I like to create tasks is I make them all-day tasks when they can happen at any point during the day. So I would say, okay, tomorrow I want to create a task, and I need to restart the server. And it can happen anytime, and I'm just going to hit save. So then it'll be here. And the great thing about a task is I could click this, and I can mark it as completed. And tasks will also roll over for any uncompleted tasks into future days, which is a really helpful feature. Instead of just having a calendar event here that says restart the server, which will only live here on this day, and there's no real way to check it off aside from deleting it, which feels a little strange. And the other thing that was in here that I wanted to show you, if I click into tomorrow morning, is a reminder. So if I want to set up a reminder instead of a task, right? Remember to check in with Bob. I can set this reminder up. I could also set it up as a recurring reminder, which is really great. Maybe I need to check in with Bob every day on Thursday. I can go ahead and set that up as well, and that'll be in there. And we could go in and mark that as done when we're done with it. All right, we're going to come back to appointment schedules at the end of this video. So stick tight if you want to go ahead and learn more about that. I want to dive in a little bit into the settings just with calendar because it could be really helpful. So there are two ways to get into settings. You've got this big cog up here, and you can look at settings right here, or next to each of these calendars, you can click this little three dots and hit settings, and that'll bring us into settings. All right, so I'm going to start at the very, very top. So in general, we have some general settings here, what you want the date format to look like, the time format, what time zone you're in. Do you want to see world clock with other time zones? What's the default duration for new events that you create? Is it 60 minutes? Is it 45 minutes? Do you want to do speedy meetings where everything is actually a little bit smaller? So you have some options there. The default guest permissions, do you want your guests to be able to see other people on the guest list, invite other people, so on and so forth? Do you want to add invitations? Add invitations to my calendar from anyone is an option. Notifications. So then we get into some notifications here, right? Do we want alerts? Do we want desktop notifications? Do we want them often? Do we want them only when we reply RSVP yes or no, or yes or maybe? Some options there. And then some more view options. Do you want to see the weekends? Do you want to see declined events? Do you want to see the week numbers? So on and so forth. You could check all of these out. And then events from Gmail. Do you want to automatically bring events from Gmail into your calendar instead of having to manually create them? You can toggle this on or off depending on your choices. You could also add in your working hours and your location. So maybe you sometimes work at home, sometimes you work in the office, sometimes you're not working at all. You can toggle these on and off and customize it. Say, okay, I work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'm going to say I'm not working on Wednesday. And on Thursday and Friday, I'm in the office. And on Monday, Tuesday, I'm home. So that way somebody else will be able to see this and make it really clear where you are. Okay, we have a couple of other options here, turning calendar offline and making appointment schedules, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more on the left side here, and what I would love to do is show you your primary calendar settings, which are the same for most settings, but I'm going to use that as an example. So we can click right under settings for my calendars. The first one is going to be your primary calendar with your name. I'm going to hit Nick Test. That's the one that's this. So I can change the name of the calendar, first of all. If I want to put a description in, I could. And then you can look very quickly at the permissions for your calendar, how they appear to others. So do you want your calendar to be publicly viewable by anybody outside of your domain? With either seeing all event details, which could be a little risky, or just seeing only free busy. And then making your make available for folks within your domain, what do they see? So does everybody in your domain see only free busy details, or do you want everybody in your domain to see all the details of your calendar events? So kind of keep an eye on what those are set up to. And do you want to be able to use your calendar info in other Google apps as well? Okay. And then here we could share our calendar with specific people. Maybe you're part of a team that wants to go ahead and change those permissions slightly for your team members, right? So an example of that would be for my domain, it's on see only free and busy, but maybe for those who are on my team, I want them to be able to see all my details. So for here, I'm going to say Bob can go ahead. I'm going to type in Bob, and he can see all of my event details. I'm going to hit send. You can see all my event details. So everybody else in the domain can only see free busy details, but Bob can see everything. Then we get into a lot of notification settings. Do you want event notifications for any event on your calendar? So by default, this notification for 10 minutes before will show up. You can remove it, or you can add more. Maybe you want to be notified 5 minutes before and 10 minutes before. Maybe you want to be notified days or hours before. Whatever you want to do. Maybe you just want an email 5 minutes before. whatever works best for you, play with this and see what works best. All day events, you can set up notifications as well. Very similar, but now you have hey, when should we send it out? Before 9 a.m. the day before, or at any other time. Okay, and then other notification options you have here. When you get new events added to your calendar, when events that are on your calendar change, when RSVPs change, do you want to be notified about those things? It could be a lot, so I recommend you be careful with what you turn on and off. Some folks really love just making sure they know what's coming on their calendar, so they leave this one on, but they toggle the rest of these off because they don't necessarily need to know. Or maybe you want to know when an event gets canceled, so you leave that on. So you have a couple different options there. And then you have other settings to be able to integrate your calendar into other sites as well that we won't necessarily get into. Okay, I want to go back and do as I promised, which is touch on appointment schedules. So appointment schedule is kind of like a refresh of appointment slots, but now it's made to be able to also be used externally, which is really great. So you can set up appointment slots schedule and allow folks to just select a time that works for them, and it adds it to both calendars. So I will set some up for tomorrow because it's late in the day. I will say from 10 to 12, I would like to set up an appointment schedule. And this is going to be for drop-in office hours. Okay, and it's going to be Thursday from 10 to 12, and I'm going to create a new appointment schedule. Great. I'm going to hit continue, and then I got a whole bunch of new settings here. So how long do I want each appointment? And remember, the appointments are just essentially calendar events that you're setting up some of the conditions for someone to make it easier. How many minutes? 30 minutes? 15 minutes? 45 minutes? Let's leave it at 30. Do you want this to repeat? Do you want it to happen often? Or you know what? This doesn't repeat. This is just an appointment for tomorrow. So I only want it to be for May 19th. Okay. Or I can add another date in here. I can add it to be repeating, whatever I want to do. All right. Scheduling window is an interesting thing here. So what is the maximum amount of time that an appointment can be booked in advance? So all the way up to 60 days is the default. So 2 months ago, somebody could book this. And what's the latest time, the minimum time? So if this is at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, the latest time somebody will be able to book those would be 10 p.m. this evening. So you could change these times, or you could take it off completely, but you have some options there. Booked appointment settings. You have some other options in here. Maybe you don't want to have 4 back-to-back-to-back meetings here. You want to add some buffer time in here. So maybe you say, I really need 10 minutes between each meeting, maybe 5 minutes. And you can go ahead and change this. And you'll see how when I have no buffer time, I have 4 appointment slots in here, 30 minutes over 2 hours. But if I have any buffer time at all, then I quickly don't have as many options available, right? I have 5 minutes here, so I can only have 3 slots in there. And then how many, do you have a maximum number of bookings per day? You could toggle that on or off. Then we have one more screen that we click next to be able to do this. You can change what your profile page looks like. You could change whether there's conferencing available in a location. So you want to add a Google Meet. Do you want to say you're going to be in person? Do you want to make it a phone call? Do you want to say, I'll figure it out later? You can add that all in here. You could add a description. When the folks are filling out the form, by default, it's asking for their first name, last name, and their email address. You can add anything else in here. You could ask for their phone number or ask for a custom thing. So you could maybe say like topic, what's the topic to be discussed? And then when they fill that out, they have to say what you want to be chatting about. You can add those in as well. And do you want their email to be verified, or them to verify themselves when they're booking those? So if you check this, if they have a Google account and they're signed in, they'll be verified that way. They don't, they'll be emailed a code just to verify that they're actually a person. So you could toggle that on or off if you're expecting you might be spammed in any particular way. And then our last thing is our confirmation. So do you want to send them an email reminder that like, hey, the event is happening, 1 day before, 15 minutes before, whatever? You can, or you can't. You could toggle that on or off. And you hit save. And it says, great, you set up this appointment schedule. You could open this booking page. And this is the link that you want to go ahead and copy. Click this little copy button and share with other people. I'll show you what that looks like. So if I click and make a new tab and paste that new link in, here is this link that we just made for my appointment schedules for tomorrow. And I could share this out with whoever I might need to do it with. And then that person can go and say, oh, you know what? I want to meet at 11:10 tomorrow. It's going to ask me for my name, first name, last name, my email address, and whatever topic to be discussed. Remember, we put that form in there. And when I book that, it's going to, I'll do it for myself. It's going to add it to my calendar event, or to my calendar as its own separate event, so I could see who it was booked by, and when the time it is, and what they want to say. So really, really cool stuff. And now when I go back in there, or another user goes back in there, that slot is now gone. So appointment scheduling is really great because you're able to use it within your domain, but more importantly, you're able to use it outside of your domain. Okay, that's a quick overview of all the ins and outs with Calendar, especially the most latest stuff with appointment scheduling. If you have any questions, please reach out. Thanks for listening.